Hello, everyone, and welcome to Versent's AI webinar series. My name is Jaden Kerr, a senior software engineer here at Versent, and it has been a pleasure being your host for the past 10 weeks. Thanks for joining us as we explored the ever-evolving world of AI. In this series, we have dived into what's possible today, what's coming next, and how to navigate AI responsibly. Each session, we looked at real-world use cases, practical frameworks, and expert insights to help you move forward with confidence. Today's session will unpack how Versent built and deployed BidBot, a secure enterprise-grade AI assistant designed to transform the RFP response process. Here's today's speaker, Ramya Kumar, Technology Associate Consultant, on their talk, Accelerating RFP and Tender Responses with AI RAG Chatbots.
Thank you, Jaden. I'll just take over the screen. Hi everyone. First of all, thank you for being here. In this session, I'm going to walk you through Versent built Bid Assistant that has been accelerating how we respond to RFPs. Here is today's agenda. We'll start with a quick grounding, what an RFP is and why it matters, the common challenges companies face, and then I'll introduce you to Bid Assistant, what it is, how it works, and the architecture behind it. We'll also go through the workflow, responsible AI guidelines we followed, look at how we productionized it on Azure, and close with some outcomes and some key takeaways. I'm really proud to introduce our core technical development team, the people who have been behind this project from its MVP days all the way through to the production. We have Alan, who's our technical lead, and Marissa, who's our project manager. Alongside them are myself, Ramya Kumar, Technology Associate Consultant, and Sanya, who's also a tech consultant. We have been developers of this platform, having our hands-on throughout the journey. We also want to acknowledge Rahul, Nigad, and Steve, who have played a major role in setting up the MVP. Now, the very first question for people unfamiliar with RFPs, what is RFP and why it matters? Let me put it in simple words. It is basically a formal request that organizations send out when they need a product or a service. Think of it as a structured questionnaire. The company lays out its requirements, expectations, and evaluation criteria and invites the vendors to respond with how they can meet those needs. So, why do companies really care about RFPs? First, RFPs make the process transparent and competitive. It helps to evaluate the vendors on a level playing field and provides confidence to organizations about getting the best fit for their needs. Secondly, RFPs helps ensure companies meet requirements and compliance standards. Especially in regulated industries, having a structured auditable process is really critical. And finally, RFPs drive revenue growth. So if we consider vendors, winning RFPs for them, it often means securing multi-year high-value contracts. And for organizations, it means finding the right partner who can deliver the outcomes at scale. So RFPs are not just paperwork, they are where the strategy, compliance, and growth come together. Moving on, now when it comes to RFPs, there are four big challenges we see. First is deadlines and formats. So RFPs usually come with very tight timelines, and because they are tied to high-stake deals, there is very little room for error. To make it harder, every client uses a different template or a format, so responses can't be just reused as it is. Secondly, the information you need is often spread across multiple documents, people, and systems. It can take hours to just find the right paragraph. So what do the teams do? They just spend a lot of time manually searching, copy pasting, and editing, which often leads to inconsistencies, delays, and rework. So finally, RFPs must protect confidential IP and be auditable as well. Reviewers need to see where the resources came from so that they can trust that it is accurate. All of this combined makes RFPs time consuming and also painful. So how do we address these challenges? That's where our bid assistant comes in. What it is exactly? It is a secure internal chatbot built on Azure. Think of it as an AI-powered teammate that helps us to respond to RFP questions. But here is the key difference. Unlike public AI tools, it doesn't pull from the open internet. It only uses Versent approved content. So we know every answer is grounded in our very own knowledge base. On top of that, every response comes with a citation as well, so reviewers can easily check the source. This means answers aren't just fast, but also credible as well, which is very important for businesses. When it comes to access and safety, of course, security was non-negotiable. Access is fully controlled through our company login with SSO and MFA, and the entire system runs as a private enterprise managed web app. That ensures sensitive information never leaves our environment and only right people can use it. And the real value comes through in everyday use. Instead of teams trawling through dozens of documents or pinging SMEs at the last minute, you can just ask the assistant a question and get a clear, cited response back in seconds. This shift alone will save hours and remove a lot of frustration as well. So, this simple but powerful capability is the foundation of how we have been able to accelerate RFP responses. Next, when we set to build out the solution, we chose RAG, which is retrieval-augmented generation approach. Now, instead of relying only on what the model already knows, RAG brings in information from our approved content library right at the moment when a question is asked to the assistant. This way, every answer is grounded in real sources. It always comes with citations and it stays up to date as the content library grows and evolves. So for enterprises, this means faster rollout, easier governance, and a solution that is reliable in a long run. What does that actually look like for a user? Imagine logging into a web app for the very first time. You type in a complex question, let's say maybe about a particular compliance policy or a product detail. Behind the scenes, the system instantly searches securely across Versent approved documents using Azure AI search. It pulls out the most relevant content and passes it into Azure OpenAI, which generates a fluent, natural sounding answer. And that answer doesn't just sound good. It comes back with the citations, as I mentioned. So you can just click on it and then verify the source yourself. This is really huge for building the trust. And importantly, all of this is built on native Azure AI services such as OpenAI, AI Search, and AI Foundry. That makes the system modular, cloud native, and easy to deploy consistently across environments with infrastructure as code. So from day one, it's consistent, scalable, and enterprise ready. Now, behind the scenes, we applied MLOps best practices to make sure this wasn't just a demo, but a production ready solution. We looked at the full AI lifecycle from preparing and chunking the data through automation, evaluation, and deployment. Chunking may sound small, but it's actually one of the most important parts. Imagine a 200-page PDF. If you try to retrieve the whole document, it's going to be inefficient. Or if you think about cutting it into pieces that are too small, you're going to lose the context. So we spend time tuning our chunking strategy to get the right balance for efficient retrieval without losing the meaning. And before we deployed, we ran rigorous evaluations, which is very much important. So this means basically benchmarking the system's domain expertise and setting a baseline for improvements. Basically, before anyone used it in production, we already had a strong sense of how good it was and where we could make it even better and easier as well. Now, very important question. You might be wondering, why not just fine tune a model instead? A plain large language model can be very fast and fluent, of course, but it has its own limits. As we all know, it has a knowledge cutoff, which means it won't know the latest information. And sometimes, very important, it can sound right, but actually it is wrong. This is what we call it as hallucinations. So fine tuning can help inject some domain knowledge, but it's expensive, it takes time, and it requires constant maintenance as your knowledge changes. RAG, on the other hand, stays dynamic. It pulls directly from the live approved content every time you ask a question. So instead of training the model over and over, you can simply update your content library and the system immediately reflects it using RAG. That makes the answers both accurate and trustworthy as well. So when you bring it all together, the outcome is very clear, a production ready solution that's cost efficient, reliable, and designed to keep improving over time. It's not just a one off build, it's a system that grows along with your business. And with that foundation in place, let's look at the next step, which is broader machine learning lifecycle that powers the system end to end. So it always starts with the business goal. What are we trying to achieve? In our case, it was pretty much straightforward, which we have been seeing. It was reducing the pain of RFP responses. Once we had that, we framed it as a machine learning problem. How can we retrieve the right knowledge, structure it, and generate the answers quickly and securely? So from there, we move to data processing. This is where we prepare our documents, our content library, and make it into usable thing by the system. A key part of this step was chunking, which I mentioned in the previous slide as well, which is basically breaking down large documents into smaller, meaningful pieces so that they can be retrieved efficiently without losing the context. That prepared data now flows into the model development. So here we built and refined a RAG system using Azure OpenAI and AI search, making sure it delivered grounded, cited answers. So once the model was ready, we deployed it into a secure enterprise web app where real users could interact with it. But the cycle doesn't stop at the deployment. We built in continuous monitoring for tracking performance, accuracy, adoption, and even cost metrics. So that monitoring feeds right back into the life cycle so that the system learns and improves over time. And if you look very closely, you will see some internal errors in this diagram. They show that after the model development and deployment, we often loop back into earlier steps. For example, monitoring may trigger new data processing or model updates. So this makes the life cycle dynamic. It's not a straight line, but a continuous loop of refinement. So this life cycle is really the backbone of the rack system. It makes sure we are not just shipping a model once, but continuously evolving to stay aligned with the business needs. Moving on to the responsible AI guidelines we followed, this has been at the core of how we build the system. So before we dive into the details, I want to touch on why responsible AI guidelines are so critical, not just for us, but for any generative AI system. As these models become more powerful and integrated into our everyday workflows, it's essential that they operate safely, transparently, and also align with the ethical standards, which is very important. And responsible AI is not just about compliance, it's about earning the trust of the users, protecting the data, and ensuring technology behaves as intended by the users under all conditions. So, from the start, we followed Microsoft's responsible AI and governance principles and applied their published guidelines. That gave us a clear framework to make sure the solution is trustworthy and accountable. We have already ran evaluations to check safety, fairness, and reliability. And going forward, we plan to extend this to Pirate, which is well advanced Python tool. Pirate stands for Python Risk Identification Tool, which is a framework designed to test Gen AI systems for security and safety risks. It will take our evaluation one step further, simulating red team scenarios and identifying risks proactively. On the evaluation side, we have already put the system through rigorous testing. First is automated GPT-4 evaluations, where we tested three main things. So giving you a bit of some simple explanation on few key evaluation terms here. First is the groundedness, which means measuring how well the answers stick to the approved resource material, basically no hallucinations. And second is relevance, which means how it answers the user's question. And third is citation accuracy, which makes sure every statement actually links back to the right source. So we tested this across 50 representative questions, covering everything from bid strategy and pricing to compliance and governance. So the results were really strong. We achieved 98% on groundedness and relevance and 100% citation accuracy. Then we moved on to safety testing. So for that, we used Azure AI's adversarial simulator, which is designed to throw really tough, risky queries at the model. So things related to hate speech, violence, self-harm, or sexual content, basically the types of prompts you would never wanted to mishandle. So we ran 200 of those adversarial queries and the system passed every single one of them. So 100% low risk classification we achieved. And we don't stop testing once it is in production. The system's performance is continuously monitored with built-in safety validation on every response. It consistently responds in under 3 seconds through our observability, and those checks ensure it stays stable, safe, and compliant. When you bring it all together, such as the Microsoft's responsible AI principles, our evaluation pipeline, and forward-looking tools like Pirate, we can say with confidence that this system is not just accurate, but also safe, reliable, and ready for production use. Now, let's look at how this comes together on Azure. So at the core, we used Azure OpenAI for the large language model and embeddings, and Azure AI Search for vector and keyword retrieval. So this is what allows the assistant to ground the answers in our approved documents. And then we have Azure AI Foundry that helps us with evaluations and prompt flows, while Storage Account acts as a secure repository for all the documents. And then we have Cosmos DB, which stores the chat history and metadata. And we use App Insights and Log Analytics for monitoring, telemetry, and audit purposes. So everything is measurable and traceable. On the application side, App Service hosts the front end, and Azure VNet makes sure secure endpoint resolution is there. And finally, we have a shared dashboard, which puts the KPIs and evaluation metrics in one single view, so admins can track how the system is performing. So the overall design, as you can see, is cloud native, modular, and every piece is secure, monitored, and scalable. So far, we have looked at the architecture, the foundation in place, what's the need, and so on things. And now let's look at the life cycle, like how did we really make this work for business? So in order for this to make work for business, we have to take it beyond just an MVP and scale it into something which is production ready. So the way we did that was by structuring the workflow into three clear stages: development, UAT, and production. And what ties these together is an automated CI/CD pipeline, all built with infrastructure as a code. So this means any change, whether it's a content update, a model prompt adjustment, or even a system tweak, can flow through the same consistent process. It gets tested, validated, and then deployed into Azure quickly and reliably. So there is no manual step involved at all, because in manual steps, things might break. But since this whole path is automated, it is always secure. Now, once we got into production, we knew observability was critical. It's not enough to just put a model out there into production and hope that it is going to work. So we added full telemetry and monitoring things. With application insights and custom dashboards, we track the system end to end. We are looking at things like latency, error rates, throughputs, and even OpenAI API costs, because when it is an environment of enterprise, cost visibility matters just as much as technical performance. And on top of that, we track the business KPIs too, things like cost per answer, daily active users, and how much of our content library is actually being used. So this is what gives both the IT and business teams confidence in the system about the performance and other criteria as well. But monitoring alone is not enough. So we also had this built-in continuous quality assurance. So every answer is evaluated automatically for groundedness, relevance, and citation accuracy. And the pass rates have been very high as well. So that gives us a baseline of trust in the quality of responses. On top of that, we layered in safety monitoring to make sure harmful or inappropriate content, as discussed in the previous slide, doesn't slip through. And for most of the critical business responses, we still keep human in the loop. So the system is both automated and governed, striking the right balance between the speed and responsibility. Finally, we focused heavily on performance and cost optimization. So this is where small design choices make a big difference. So there were a few main things which we focused on. Number one was smart caching to avoid unnecessary API calls. And secondly, we have built-in retrial logic to gracefully handle the rate limits. And finally, everything is deployed in auto-scaling containers. So this way, the system can handle peak demand when the usage spikes and then scale back down quickly, so we are not overpaying when traffic is lighter. So it's designed to be efficient by default. When you put it all together, the result is not just a working model, but a production ready. It's measurable, monitored, and also maintainable at scale. And that's exactly what you need for an enterprise adoption. A system that's not only powerful, but also governed, cost aware, and continuously improving. With that, now let's look at the user's experience with our simple chat interface. So users don't need training, they can jump straight in. To make it even easier, we added suggested prompts on the home screen so people know what kind of questions they can ask right away. And then we have few other features as well, which I'm going to cover now. So next are few features which actually make a big difference. So first you have the chat history. So you can go back and revisit the past conversations. And second, every answer comes with inline citations, so you know exactly which document it came from, and that's critical for credibility in RFPs especially. And third, you can copy the answers directly, which saves time when moving content into a proposal. And importantly, if the content doesn't exist, the assistant doesn't try to make things up. It is transparent, it simply says not found. So that honesty itself builds the trust. Now let's talk about the impact this solution is already having. First is for bid managers. So for bid managers, the changes immediate. Drafts that used to take hours can now be pulled together in just minutes. And because the system generates the answer in a consistent tone, the overall submission looks more professional and polished. It's no longer about juggling between different writing styles. It's about putting forward one unified, high quality response. And now think about the SMEs who are the subject matter experts. So these are the people who often get pulled into RFPs at the very last minute. So in the past, they would spend a huge amount of time just hunting for the right piece of text, which is usually buried in a long document. With this system, that work is eliminated. So the content is already surfaced for them, so they can focus on the strategic review, just checking the accuracy, tailoring the response, and making sure it's differentiated. So their expertise is actually spent where it really matters, not on retyping things we already know. And finally, if we zoom out to the business level, the savings really start to add up. We are projecting around 600 hours saved every year simply from reduced manual effort. That's the equivalent of weeks of productive time handed back to the team. And it's not just about ROI, though the financial case is very clear. It's also about the less tangible benefits, such as the productivity gains, improved morale, and higher job satisfaction. People are freed from the repetitive copy paste work and can focus on the parts of their role that really add the value. So, in the end, it's a true win win: faster responses, higher quality outputs, and a happier, more productive team. To wrap up, there are three key messages I want to leave you with. First, RFPs don't need to be painful. With the right approach, they can go from a stressful manual process to something which is very much streamlined and efficient. And secondly, the productivity gains and ROI from generative AI are real. So, in fact, Gartner's latest research highlights that the strongest returns comes from targeted domain-specific use cases, exactly where solutions like our bid assistant sits. We have seen drafts created in minutes, hundreds of hours saved every year, and immediate impact for both teams and the business. And last but the best, so AI is not here to replace people, it's here to be a partner with them. By taking on the repetitive and time consuming work, it frees up our teams to focus on what they do best, such as strategy, creativity, and delivering the value. Our bid assistant shows that AI can be practical, secure, and enterprise ready, and it can transform how we approach the RFPs. And that brings us to the end of the presentation. Thank you all for your time. I'll hand it over back to Jaden.
Thank you, Ramya. We do have a question from Naveen. Do we perform the evaluation test in the CI/CD platform or using the live monitoring in the prod environment?
Right. So when we were developing this product, we performed the evaluation test in the CI/CD. So as I mentioned, it's in the CI/CD because it's automated pipeline, and we can use the live monitoring, which is in the productive environment as well.
Cool. Hopefully that answers your question. Thanks for asking. So yes, thanks again, Ramya, and thank you everybody for joining today's session. If you have any questions or follow-ups about today's topic, you can reach out to Ramya at the email on the screen. Thank you for taking part in our 10-week series. Recordings of each webinar are available on the Building the Future with Versent AI landing page. You can get in touch if you'd like to speak to one of our AI experts. We look forward to helping you unlock the full potential of AI safely, ethically, and with impact. Have a great day, and we will see you next time.